Have you ever wondered why, despite your commitment to prayer, your spiritual life doesn't seem to change? You say the rosary daily, yet battles remain just as fierce, doubts persist, and blessings feel distant. Is it possible that you've been praying the rosary wrong this entire time? If so, you're not alone. In fact, 99% of Catholics unknowingly make critical mistakes when praying the rosary, mistakes that rob them of its true power. But today, you'll discover how to unlock its full spiritual potential. Imagine holding a powerful key, one that opens doors to miraculous graces, divine protection, and deep inner peace, but using it incorrectly, preventing it from working. This is exactly what happens when the rosary is prayed improperly. It's not just about reciting words. It's about entering into a divine mystery, a spiritual battle where every bead holds incredible strength. When prayed correctly, the rosary becomes a supernatural force, one that can transform your life, your struggles, and even the world around you. Saint Padre Pio, one of the most beloved and mystical figures in Catholic history, called the rosary the weapon for these times. But like any weapon, it must be wielded correctly to unleash its full potential. He emphasized that prayer isn't just about repetition. It's about deep spiritual engagement, meditation, and intention. Through his guidance, thousands have experienced extraordinary breakthroughs simply by adjusting the way they pray. This video isn't just a guide, it's a spiritual awakening. We will explore why most people pray the rosary incorrectly, the 5 key mistakes that block its power, and how to apply Padre Pio's method to experience life-changing results. You'll hear incredible testimonies, historical miracles, and step-by-step instructions to ensure that your rosary is prayed in a way that truly impacts your life. And here's a challenge for you. Commit to praying the rosary the way Padre Pio taught, for just 21 days. If you do, you'll witness profound changes in your spiritual journey. Miraculous events, divine guidance, and a new sense of peace may begin unfolding in ways you never expected. Are you ready to unlock the full power of the rosary? Stay with me until the end, because I'm going to reveal a hidden secret that few Catholics know about the rosary, a technique that Padre Pio used to make his prayers unstoppable. But first, let's uncover the most common mistakes that are keeping you from experiencing its true power. The rosary is not just a simple set of prayers. It is a powerful spiritual weapon, one that has been used for centuries to combat evil, strengthen faith, and bring divine protection. Many people see it as just a Catholic tradition, but the truth is that it carries supernatural power when prayed correctly. Saints, exorcists, and mystics have testified to the fact that the rosary is feared by the devil and his forces because it is a direct link to the intercession of the Virgin Mary, who crushes the serpent's head. However, like any weapon, it must be used with the right technique, focus, and devotion to unleash its full potential. Imagine a soldier holding a sword, but not knowing how to swing it properly. He remains defenseless. This is exactly what happens when we pray the rosary mechanically, without true meditation and engagement. Saint Padre Pio, one of the most powerful spiritual warriors of modern times, called the rosary the weapon for these times, because he understood its importance in the ongoing battle between good and evil. He prayed over 30 rosaries a day and advised his followers to never leave home without it. He knew that the rosary, when prayed with faith, could protect against spiritual attacks, temptations, and even physical dangers. But what made his rosary prayers so effective? The answer lies in how he prayed it. Not just the number of times, but the depth of his prayer, his full immersion into the mysteries, and his unwavering faith in its power. Most people rush through the words, thinking that the number of repetitions is what matters, but Padre Pio revealed that the true strength of the rosary comes from how deeply we connect with each prayer. Think of the rosary as a direct spiritual connection line to heaven. Every Hail Mary is like a message sent to Our Lady, and when prayed properly, these messages carry weight and urgency. But imagine if your prayers were being sent like static-filled radio signals, distorted by distractions, lack of focus, and rushed words. What if heaven could barely hear you because you were praying absent-mindedly? This is why so many people feel that their rosary prayers go unanswered. They are praying with their lips, but not with their hearts. The key to unlocking its full power is engaging in deep meditation, aligning your heart with your words, and truly contemplating the mysteries. When done correctly, the rosary transforms from a simple prayer into a force that shakes the spiritual world. History has provided countless testimonies of the rosary's power when prayed with true devotion. In 1571, the Battle of Lepanto saw Christian forces miraculously defeat a much larger Ottoman fleet after Pope Pius V called for all of Christendom to pray the rosary. Military leaders later admitted that the victory was unexplainable by human means. Another astonishing event occurred in 1945 during the atomic bombing of Hiroshima. 8 Jesuit priests, who lived just blocks away from the explosion's epicenter, survived unharmed while thousands perished. When asked how they were not affected by radiation sickness, they simply replied that they had been praying the rosary daily. These stories prove that the rosary is not just a symbolic act of devotion, it is a supernatural shield when used properly. Now, let's take a moment to reflect. If you've ever wondered why your prayers feel weak, why your battles seem just as fierce, and why you don't feel the transformation that the rosary promises, ask yourself this: have you been praying it correctly? Have you been fully immersing yourself in its mysteries, or have you been treating it as a routine obligation? This moment of self-reflection is crucial because it marks the beginning of a spiritual breakthrough. The rosary is only as powerful as the devotion you put into it. Just like a key will not unlock a door unless it is turned in the right direction, the rosary will not unleash its full potential unless it is prayed with deep focus, heart, and meditation. Before we move on to uncover the 5 critical mistakes that weaken your rosary prayers, let's take a small but powerful challenge. Tonight, before you go to bed, pray just 1 decade of the rosary with full attention, meditation, and heart. Forget about speed. Focus on quality. Speak every Hail Mary as if you are standing before Mary herself, offering her a rose with each prayer. If you do this, you will already begin to feel the difference. Ready to take your rosary prayers to the next level? Let's now explore the biggest mistakes that block its power and how you can correct them immediately. The rosary is a prayer that holds immense spiritual power, but most Catholics unknowingly make mistakes that weaken its effectiveness. These mistakes are not about missing a bead or forgetting a prayer. It goes much deeper than that. The way you approach the rosary, the mindset you carry, and the level of engagement you bring to it determine whether it becomes a source of grace or a mere routine recitation. Imagine a powerful medicine that could heal your soul, but instead of taking it properly, you rush through it or forget key elements. This is what happens when the rosary is prayed incorrectly. Let's uncover the 5 biggest mistakes that block its power and prevent you from experiencing the full spiritual transformation it offers. One of the most common mistakes is praying mechanically, without engaging the heart. Many Catholics fall into the habit of reciting the rosary out of obligation rather than devotion, turning it into a checklist rather than an intimate conversation with heaven. They say the words, but their minds wander to daily worries, work, errands, social media. This disconnect between words and heart weakens the prayer, making it nothing more than an empty repetition. St. Padre Pio warned that praying without love is like offering wilted flowers to the Blessed Mother. Would you give a half-hearted gift to someone you love? Then why offer a half-hearted rosary to Mary, who intercedes for you before God? Another major mistake is rushing through the prayers as if speed is what matters. Many people believe that praying more rosaries means receiving more graces, so they race through the words, barely pausing to breathe between Hail Marys. This approach destroys the meditative nature of the rosary and turns it into a robotic exercise. Padre Pio taught that one properly prayed rosary is more powerful than 50 rushed ones. Imagine speaking to a loved one in a hurried, monotone voice without emotion. How meaningful would that conversation be? The same applies to the rosary. The way you pray affects the depth of your spiritual connection. Perhaps the most serious mistake is failing to meditate on the mysteries. The rosary is not just about vocal prayer. It is a deep journey into the life of Christ through Mary's eyes. Every decade is meant to draw you into a sacred event, from the Annunciation to the Crucifixion to the Resurrection. If you are simply saying Hail Marys without visualizing, contemplating, and placing yourself within the mystery, then you are missing the heart of the rosary. Imagine receiving a letter filled with hidden wisdom, but never opening it. This is what happens when you neglect meditation while praying the rosary. Another mistake that weakens the rosary is praying without a specific intention. Many people pray the rosary in a general way, without directing it toward a particular request, struggle, or gratitude. Padre Pio encouraged his followers to attach their rosaries to a clear purpose, whether it's for a loved one, a healing, protection, or a spiritual breakthrough. Without intention, the rosary lacks direction, much like a ship sailing without a destination. Think about what you need most in your life: strength, clarity, a miracle. Pray each rosary as if you are placing that request directly into Mary's hands, with faith that she will carry it to Jesus. Finally, many Catholics pray the rosary without confidence in its power, treating it as a ritual rather than a supernatural weapon. Padre Pio warned that doubt is one of the greatest obstacles to effective prayer. The rosary is feared by the devil because it is a direct connection to Mary, but if you pray without believing in its power, its effect is diminished. Imagine a knight holding a shield but questioning whether it truly works. His doubt alone makes him vulnerable. The same happens with the rosary. Pray with absolute certainty that Mary is listening, that graces are flowing, and that each prayer is changing the spiritual realm around you. Now that we've identified the mistakes that block the rosary's power, let's move forward and discover how to correct them. The transformation begins when you make small, yet powerful changes to the way you pray. The difference between a weak rosary and a powerful one is not in the number of prayers, but in the depth of your devotion. Are you ready to unlock the full potential of this sacred prayer? Let's dive into the first and most critical correction: praying the rosary with your heart, not just with your lips. One of the greatest secrets to unlocking the full power of the rosary is learning to pray with your heart, not just your lips. This might seem simple, but it is the foundation upon which all other aspects of the rosary must be built. If your heart is not engaged, your words become empty. Imagine speaking to a friend while looking at your phone, nodding absent-mindedly but not truly listening. Would that be a meaningful conversation? The same applies to prayer. When you say the rosary without true engagement, focus, and love, you are merely saying words rather than connecting with heaven. Praying with the heart means approaching the rosary with a deep sense of love, reverence, and longing. Each Hail Mary should feel like a personal offering to Mary, each Our Father a direct call to God. Instead of reciting on autopilot, you should pause and reflect on the meaning behind every word. When you say, "Blessed art thou among women," take a moment to visualize Mary in all her grace, standing before you. When you say, "Pray for us sinners now and at the hour of our death," truly feel the weight of that request. These small shifts in consciousness make a huge difference in the spiritual effectiveness of the rosary. A great way to engage the heart is to visualize handing Mary a rose with each prayer. This ancient practice is where the term rosary, a crown of roses, comes from. Imagine that as you say each Hail Mary, you are offering a beautiful rose to the Blessed Mother, forming a spiritual bouquet of devotion. When you rush through the prayer or say it without love, it is as if you are offering a wilted flower. But when you pray with sincerity, each rose becomes vibrant, filled with fragrance and beauty. Wouldn't you want to give Mary the most beautiful bouquet possible? Padre Pio often encouraged his followers to pray slowly, thoughtfully, and with emotion. Many who adopted his method reported feeling a stronger presence of Mary in their lives, deeper peace, and even answered prayers they had been waiting for years. The secret is not in praying more rosaries, but in praying one rosary well. Even if you only have time for 1 decade, it is better to pray it with full attention and love than to rush through 5 decades carelessly. The Blessed Mother is not counting how many prayers you say. She is listening to the love behind them. Another way to ensure your heart is engaged is to eliminate distractions while praying. In today's world, it is easy to let notifications, background noise, and daily worries pull our minds away from prayer. But the rosary deserves our full presence. Choose a quiet place, light a candle, or pray before an image of Mary to help focus your mind on the sacred. If you catch your thoughts wandering, gently bring them back to the prayer without frustration. This discipline of prayerful attention will make your rosary stronger than ever before. Most importantly, praying with the heart means approaching the rosary with faith, not just habit. When you start the rosary, remind yourself why you are praying, whether it is for peace, strength, or a miracle. Speak each word with confidence, knowing that heaven is listening. The more you engage your heart, the more the rosary will transform your life, deepen your connection with God, and unlock blessings you never imagined. We have now corrected the first mistake and learned to pray with the heart. But there's more. Next, we will uncover another essential key: the power of meditation on the mysteries and how it brings supernatural results when done correctly. The Rosary is more than just a series of repeated prayers. It is a journey through the life of Christ. Every decade is designed to lead you deeper into the mysteries of salvation, allowing you to not only pray, but to experience the events of Jesus' life, death, and resurrection. Unfortunately, many Catholics pray the Rosary without truly meditating on these mysteries, turning it into a mechanical routine rather than a profound spiritual exercise. This is one of the biggest reasons why so many feel disconnected from its power. Without meditation, the Rosary is like reading a story without understanding its meaning. But when you engage with the mysteries on a deeper level, the Rosary becomes a direct encounter with Christ. Imagine standing at the foot of the cross as Jesus takes his final breath. Imagine kneeling beside Mary as the angel Gabriel tells her she will bear the Son of God. Imagine the joy of the resurrection, seeing the risen Christ in all his glory. This is how the Rosary should be prayed, not as a simple recitation, but as a vivid spiritual experience that transports you into the heart of salvation history. When you pray the Rosary this way, you are no longer just saying words. You are stepping into the story of Christ's love for humanity. This is why the saints, including Padre Pio, emphasized that meditation is the soul of the Rosary. Without it, the prayer loses its depth, its transformative power, and its ability to bring you closer to God. One of the best ways to meditate on the mysteries is to visualize the scenes as if you are there in person. If you are praying the sorrowful mysteries, imagine the agony in the garden, the pain of the scourging, the weight of the cross on Jesus' back. If you are praying the joyful mysteries, imagine Mary's excitement at the Annunciation, the beauty of the Nativity, the young Jesus in the temple. This kind of prayer engages the mind and the heart, making each Hail Mary more than just a word. It becomes a moment of contemplation on the greatest truths of our faith. This is what transforms an ordinary Rosary into a powerful, grace-filled encounter with God. To deepen your meditation, consider reading a short passage of Scripture before each decade. The Bible is filled with details about the life of Christ that bring the mysteries to life. For example, before praying the third sorrowful mystery, the crowning with thorns, read the passage from the Gospel of Matthew where the soldiers mock Jesus, press the crown of thorns onto his head, and strike him. By doing this, your prayer becomes a fusion of words, scripture, and contemplation, allowing the Rosary to take root in your soul in a way that simple repetition never could. Padre Pio often told his spiritual children that praying the Rosary without meditation is like trying to eat without chewing. The words might enter your mind, but they will not nourish your soul. He urged his followers to pray slowly, allowing their hearts to rest on each mystery, to feel the emotions, to absorb the lessons hidden within them. When you do this, the Rosary stops being a routine and becomes a spiritual retreat, a journey through the life of Christ where every prayer brings new insight, new strength, and new graces. The saints and mystics throughout history have testified to the extraordinary power of meditating on the mysteries of the Rosary. Saint Louis de Montfort wrote that one properly meditated Rosary could transform a soul more than 1,000 hurried ones. Those who embrace this practice often experience a deeper sense of peace, divine inspiration, and even supernatural interventions. The reason is simple. When you place yourself within the mysteries, you allow God to speak to you through them. He reveals lessons, grants wisdom, and strengthens your faith in ways that ordinary prayers cannot. Now that we have discovered the power of meditation in the Rosary, we must take it a step further. A properly prayed Rosary is not only about engaging the heart and meditating on the mysteries, it is also about praying with the right rhythm, the right pace, and a profound sense of reverence. Many Catholics unknowingly diminish the power of their Rosary because they rush through it, treating it as a task to complete, rather than a sacred moment of communion with heaven. Let's now uncover how the way you pray, the rhythm, tone, and approach, can dramatically affect its effectiveness. The rhythm of your prayer matters more than you think. Many people rush through the Rosary, thinking that the faster they pray, the better. But this approach completely destroys the depth and spiritual impact of the prayer. Imagine having a conversation with someone you love. Would you speed through your words without pausing for breath, without emotion, without sincerity? Of course not. Then why treat the Rosary this way? The Rosary is a conversation with heaven itself, a dialogue with Mary, who intercedes for us before the throne of God. Every prayer should be spoken with intention, love, and reverence, not rattled off as if you are racing against a clock. Padre Pio warned against what he called the breathless rosary, a rosary prayed so quickly that the words blur together, losing their meaning and power. He taught that the most effective rosaries are those that are prayed with a measured pace, allowing each word to sink into the heart. A well-prayed rosary is like a beautifully sung hymn. It flows with a natural rhythm, a sense of devotion, and an awareness of the presence of God. When you rush through it, you lose the ability to meditate, to engage, and to receive the graces attached to it. One way to improve the rhythm of your rosary is to breathe deeply between prayers. Instead of rushing from one Hail Mary to the next, take a moment to inhale deeply, reflect on the words, and then continue with intention. This small change has a profound effect. It slows your heart rate, calms your mind, and brings you into a state of deeper spiritual awareness. Many people who have adopted this method report feeling more connected to their prayer, more at peace, and more in tune with the presence of Mary. Another key element is speaking each prayer with clarity and reverence. Instead of mumbling or praying in a monotonous tone, say the words as if you mean them with all your heart. Imagine you are standing before the Blessed Mother herself. How would you speak to her? Would you rush through your words carelessly, or would you speak with love, with intention, with deep devotion? This simple shift in attitude changes the entire experience of praying the rosary. It turns it from a chore into a personal act of love and worship. Some of the most powerful moments in the history of the Church have come from rosaries prayed with deep reverence. Many saints, including Saint Dominic, Saint Louis de Montfort, and Padre Pio, insisted that the right rhythm and attitude during prayer could open the doors to extraordinary graces. Testimonies from those who have transformed their rosary practice show that when you slow down and pray with intention, miracles begin to happen. Spiritual battles are won, hearts are converted, and impossible situations find divine resolutions. A great way to ensure that you are praying with the right rhythm is to set aside a dedicated time for the rosary, free from distractions. Light a candle, sit in a sacred space, or even pray in front of the Eucharist if possible. When you create a holy environment for your prayer, your soul naturally enters into a deeper state of contemplation and devotion. The rosary is not meant to be squeezed into a busy schedule. It should be given the priority and reverence it deserves. Now that we have explored the power of meditation and the importance of praying with the right rhythm, let's take our rosary practice even further. One of the most overlooked aspects of the rosary is spiritual preparation, what you do before you even begin to pray. Many people rush into the rosary without preparing their hearts, missing out on a profound opportunity for grace. In the next section, we will uncover the secret to properly preparing for the rosary, so that every prayer carries even greater spiritual impact. The way you prepare before praying, the rosary can significantly impact the depth of your experience and the graces you receive. Many people jump straight into the rosary without clearing their minds, setting an intention, or inviting the Holy Spirit to guide them. But just like an athlete stretches before a race or a musician tunes their instrument before a performance, your soul needs preparation before entering into prayer. Without this preparation, the rosary can feel dry, rushed, and disconnected. But when you take just a few moments to spiritually prepare, your prayer becomes more powerful, more focused, and more transformative. One of the first things you should do before beginning the rosary is to enter into a moment of silence. The world today is filled with constant distractions, phones buzzing, thoughts racing, emotions pulling you in different directions. If you carry all this noise into your rosary, it will be difficult to truly focus on prayer. Before you even touch your beads, pause for a minute or two and simply breathe. Close your eyes, let go of distractions, and become aware of the presence of God. This simple act shifts your spirit from the chaos of daily life into a place of prayer, making your rosary infinitely more powerful. Another crucial step is to make an act of contrition before starting. Padre Pio often reminded his followers that prayer is more effective when it comes from a purified heart. Just like a window must be cleaned to let the sunlight in, your soul must be cleansed of sin and distractions to fully receive the graces of the rosary. A simple "Lord, forgive me for my sins and help me to pray with a pure heart" can make a tremendous difference. This act of humility prepares you to enter the rosary with a spirit of true devotion. Setting a clear intention is another way to prepare spiritually. Many people pray the rosary without a specific purpose, which can make it feel directionless or repetitive. But when you dedicate each rosary to a specific cause, need, or person, it becomes more meaningful. Before you begin, take a moment to decide what you will offer your prayer for. Are you praying for a loved one? For healing? For guidance? State your intention clearly and offer it to Mary. This transforms your rosary from a simple prayer into a mission of intercession, bringing real change into your life and the lives of those around you. One of the most overlooked but powerful preparations is to invite the Holy Spirit to guide your prayer. Many saints, including Padre Pio and Saint Louis de Montfort, taught that the rosary is most effective when prayed with the inspiration of the Holy Spirit. Before you begin, simply pray, "Holy Spirit, guide my heart and mind as I pray this rosary. Help me to focus, to meditate deeply, and to pray with love." This simple prayer opens your soul to divine guidance, allowing your rosary to be led not by your own thoughts, but by the wisdom of heaven. Finally, choose a sacred space for prayer whenever possible. While the rosary can be prayed anywhere, creating an environment of peace and reverence enhances its power. Light a candle, place an image of Mary or a crucifix before you, or even kneel if you feel called to do so. This small effort signals to your mind and heart that you are entering into a sacred moment, making it easier to remain focused and spiritually engaged. The more effort you put into preparing for the rosary, the deeper your experience will be, and the more graces you will receive. Now that we understand the importance of preparation, let's explore one of the most transformative aspects of the rosary: praying with unwavering faith and confidence. Many people pray the rosary with doubt, uncertainty, or distraction, unknowingly blocking the full power of their prayers. But when you pray with absolute trust in Mary's intercession and God's response, the rosary becomes a force of divine action in your life. Faith is the key that unlocks the power of prayer, and the rosary is no exception. Many Catholics pray the rosary out of habit, but lack the faith to believe that real miracles can happen. This doubt weakens the effectiveness of the prayer, preventing it from bearing its full fruit. Imagine knocking on a door but not believing anyone is inside to answer. You would knock weakly, without expectation. But if you knew with certainty that someone was waiting to greet you, your knock would be strong, confident, and persistent. The same is true for the rosary. When you pray with deep faith and expectation, heaven responds. Padre Pio often told his followers, "Pray, hope, and don't worry." This is one of his most famous teachings because he understood that prayer, when done with faith, removes fear, doubt, and hesitation. The rosary is a prayer of battle, a weapon against spiritual darkness, and a source of unimaginable grace, but only if prayed with confidence. Many Catholics pray half-heartedly, unsure if Mary is really listening. But the truth is, Mary is more attentive to your rosary than you can imagine. When you pray with absolute trust, miracles begin to unfold in your life. Throughout history, the most incredible rosary miracles have happened when people prayed with unwavering faith. In 1945, during the atomic bombing of Hiroshima, a group of 8 Jesuit priests survived near the epicenter of the blast. Scientists could not explain why they were not affected by radiation, yet the priests had a simple explanation. They had been praying the rosary daily with deep faith. Similarly, in the Battle of Lepanto in 1571, Christian forces achieved an impossible victory after Pope Pius V urged all of Christendom to pray the rosary with trust. These stories prove that the rosary prayed with confidence changes history. If you struggle with doubt while praying the rosary, here is a simple solution. Before beginning, remind yourself of past prayers that have been answered. Think of a time when God intervened in your life, when a difficult situation suddenly improved, or when you felt His presence in a moment of despair. This reflection strengthens your faith and reminds you that prayer works. You are not just saying words into the air. You are entering into a divine conversation with heaven. Another powerful way to strengthen your faith while praying the rosary is to visualize Mary listening to you as a loving mother. Imagine her sitting beside you, holding your hand as you pray. She is not distant. She is right there, guiding you, interceding for you, and presenting your prayers before God. When you deeply believe this, your rosary becomes more than a devotion. It becomes a supernatural encounter with the Blessed Mother herself. To cultivate stronger faith, practice praying the rosary with declarations of trust. After each decade, say aloud, "Mary, I trust that you are interceding for me. Jesus, I believe you are working in my life." These small affirmations train your heart to pray with confidence. The more you declare your trust, the stronger your faith becomes, and the more powerful your rosary will be. Praying the rosary with faith doesn't mean you will get instant results, but it does mean that your prayers will bear fruit in ways you cannot yet see. Some prayers bring immediate answers, while others unfold over time. But one thing is certain: every single rosary prayed with faith has an impact in heaven. Even when you don't see immediate change, trust that God and Mary are working behind the scenes, arranging circumstances for your highest good. Now that we have unlocked the secret of praying with faith, let's go even deeper. One of the most profound ways to amplify the power of the rosary is by uniting it with sacrifice and offering it up for others. This hidden spiritual strategy turns the rosary into an unstoppable force of grace, healing, and divine intervention. In the next section, we will uncover how offering up your rosary can change lives, including your own. The rosary is already a powerful prayer on its own, but when offered as a sacrifice, it becomes an unstoppable force of grace. Many Catholics pray the rosary for their own needs, but few realize the incredible power of offering it up for others. This simple act of selfless love transforms the rosary into an instrument of divine intercession, capable of changing lives, healing wounds, and even protecting souls from eternal loss. Throughout history, some of the greatest saints have used this spiritual strategy to bring conversions, heal the sick, and even save entire nations from destruction. One of the most powerful ways to offer up your rosary is by uniting it with a personal sacrifice. This could be fasting, giving up a small comfort, or enduring a hardship with patience and love. When you combine your rosary with a sacrifice, you increase its spiritual weight. Padre Pio often told his followers that prayers accompanied by suffering are the most powerful of all. He himself endured physical pain, attacks from the devil, and great trials, but offered everything to God for the salvation of souls. Imagine the impact of your rosary if you prayed it not just for yourself, but as a gift to heaven for others. The Bible is filled with examples of intercessory prayer bringing miracles. In the Old Testament, Moses interceded for the Israelites, and God spared them from destruction. In the New Testament, Jesus constantly prayed for others, including those who persecuted him. The Blessed Mother, at the wedding at Cana, interceded for the hosts, leading to Jesus' first miracle. When we offer up our rosary for someone in need, we step into this divine tradition of intercession, becoming instruments of God's mercy in the lives of others. Many saints and mystics have testified that the rosary can bring souls back from the brink of damnation when offered with faith and sacrifice. St. Louis de Montfort wrote that one fervent rosary offered for the conversion of a sinner can bring them back to God, even if they are far from the faith. There are countless stories of parents praying the rosary for their wayward children, only to see them return to the church years later. Some exorcists have even reported that demons fear the rosary being prayed for someone else, because they know it calls down heaven's power upon that soul. To begin offering your rosary in this way, choose a person or situation to pray for before you start. It could be for a struggling friend, a sick family member, or even someone who has hurt you. As you pray each decade, imagine placing that person into Mary's hands. Ask her to present your prayer before God as an offering for their healing, protection, or conversion. This simple act transforms your rosary from a personal prayer into a mission of mercy, making it infinitely more powerful. The Blessed Mother has promised extraordinary graces to those who pray the rosary for others with love. In her many apparitions, including Fatima and Lourdes, she repeatedly asked for prayers to be offered for sinners, emphasizing that many souls are lost because no one prays for them. Imagine how many people could be saved, healed, and converted if every Catholic offered their rosary for someone in need. This is one of the greatest hidden powers of the rosary, and few take full advantage of it. We have now unlocked an incredible secret. The rosary, when offered as an act of intercession, can change lives and save souls. But what happens when we take this even further? There is another level of prayer that few Catholics ever reach, praying the rosary with complete surrender to God's will. This is where miracles begin to happen, doors open, and divine breakthroughs occur. Let's now uncover the final and most powerful secret of the rosary: absolute surrender and abandonment to divine providence. There is a spiritual law that many overlook. The more you surrender to God, the more He works in your life. The rosary, when prayed with true abandonment to God's will, becomes a tool for divine transformation. Many people pray asking for specific outcomes, but few pray with the faith to say, "Lord, I trust you completely. Let your will be done." This is one of the highest forms of prayer, because it reflects the attitude of Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane. "Not my will, but yours be done." When you pray the rosary with this level of trust, miracles unfold in ways you never expected. The problem many people face is that they pray but still try to control everything in their lives. They say the rosary, but hold on to anxiety, fear, and the need to manipulate outcomes. This limits the power of the rosary, because faith and control cannot exist together. True surrender means placing your intentions before Mary, but then letting go and allowing God to act in His perfect time and way. This is how saints like Padre Pio, Saint Thérèse of Lisieux, and Saint Faustina received extraordinary graces. They trusted completely in divine providence. There is an incredible peace that comes with praying the rosary without attachment to the results. Instead of anxiously wondering when your prayers will be answered, you simply trust that God is working behind the scenes. Many people who have prayed this way have reported experiencing unexpected blessings, deep inner peace, and divine solutions that they never could have imagined. The reason is simple. When you stop trying to force things, you make room for God to move freely. One of the best ways to practice surrender while praying the rosary is to offer every Hail Mary as an act of trust. With each bead, say in your heart, "Mary, I give this situation to you. Jesus, I trust in you." The more you release your fears and attachments, the more powerful your prayer becomes. Many who have adopted this method find that they no longer feel stressed about their problems because they know heaven is handling them. This is the power of radical trust. It frees your soul and allows God to work without limitations. The saints have always lived by this principle. Saint Thérèse of Lisieux called it the little way, trusting in God so completely that even small prayers and acts of love become powerful in His hands. Padre Pio lived this through his famous words, "Pray, hope, and don't worry." This is the ultimate goal of the rosary, not just to ask for things, but to develop a relationship of complete trust and surrender with God through Mary. If you struggle with letting go, ask Mary to help you. As the Mother of God, she understands what it means to trust even in uncertainty. From the moment of the Annunciation to standing at the foot of the cross, she trusted in God's plan, even when she did not understand it. When you pray the rosary, ask her to give you the grace to trust as she did. We have now reached the highest level of praying the rosary, full surrender to God's will. But there is one final step. Now that you have learned how to pray the rosary with power, love, and trust, what will you do with this knowledge? In the last part of this journey, we will issue a powerful challenge, a 21-day commitment to praying the rosary as Padre Pio taught. If you accept this challenge, your spiritual life will never be the same again. Let's prepare for the final step. Now that you have discovered the hidden power of the rosary, it's time to put it into practice. I challenge you to pray the rosary every day for 21 days, following everything we have learned. Pray with your heart fully engaged, meditating on the mysteries, praying with the right rhythm, and trusting completely in God's will. This is not just a habit, it is a spiritual transformation that will change the way you pray forever. For the next 21 days, commit to praying one rosary daily, offering it up for a special intention or for someone in need. Pray with faith, with devotion, and with the expectation that heaven is listening. Keep a journal of any insights, feelings, or unexpected blessings that happen along the way. Many who take this challenge experience miraculous changes in their lives, from newfound peace to incredible answers to prayer. If you accept this challenge, comment below, "I accept the Rosary Challenge." Make this your public commitment to praying with power, love, and faith. Heaven is waiting. Now is the time to act. Are you ready? Let's begin this life-changing journey together. The Rosary is a weapon of grace, but like any powerful tool, it must be used with discipline and consistency. Many people pray the Rosary for a few days and then stop, expecting instant results. But true transformation comes not from occasional prayer, but from faithful perseverance. The greatest saints were not those who prayed once in desperation, but those who prayed daily, without ceasing, and with complete trust in God's timing. If you truly want to unlock the full potential of the Rosary, the key is simple. Make it a daily, unbreakable habit. One of the biggest spiritual traps people fall into is praying only when they feel like it. The devil knows the power of the Rosary, so he will try to distract you, make you feel too tired, or convince you that it's not important. Many Catholics start praying with enthusiasm, only to let their commitment fade after a few days. But the Rosary is most effective when prayed consistently, not just when life is difficult. Think of it like exercise. If you work out once a week, you won't see much progress. But if you commit to it every day, the results become undeniable. Padre Pio, despite his suffering, never let a day pass without the Rosary. He once said, "The Rosary is the weapon for these times." Notice that he didn't say it was just a prayer. He called it a weapon, something that must be wielded daily, with discipline, and with purpose. The saints understood that prayer is not just about asking for things. It's about strengthening your soul, drawing closer to God, and preparing for the battles you don't even see coming. A Rosary prayed today may be the grace that protects you months or years from now. To build an unbreakable Rosary habit, attach it to something you already do daily. Pray the Rosary while driving, while taking a walk, or before going to bed. Keep a Rosary in your pocket, or wear one on your wrist as a reminder. Make it as natural as breathing, something you would never think of skipping. The more consistent you are, the more powerful it becomes. Over time, you will start to feel a shift in your life, greater peace, deeper faith, and a stronger connection to heaven. One of the most effective ways to remain consistent is to pray the Rosary with others. Join a prayer group, encourage family members to pray with you, or even start a Rosary challenge with friends. The early Christians understood the power of praying together, and the same is true today. When you commit to a shared Rosary practice, you become accountable, and the habit becomes easier to maintain. Many who struggle to pray alone find that praying with others ignites their devotion and keeps them on track. Finally, remind yourself daily why you are praying. Are you seeking peace? A miracle? A breakthrough? Keep that intention close to your heart. On difficult days, when you don't feel like praying, remember that every Rosary builds spiritual momentum. Even if you don't see immediate results, trust that every prayer is storing up grace. This is the secret that the saints knew. Perseverance in prayer is never wasted. Now that we understand the power of consistency, let's go even deeper. The Rosary is not just a personal prayer. It is a prayer that protects, heals, and defends. Many Catholics are unaware that the Rosary creates a spiritual shield around them. But what does this mean? And how can you pray in a way that fortifies your soul against spiritual attacks? Let's uncover this hidden power of the Rosary. Few people realize that the Rosary is one of the most powerful forms of spiritual protection available. In a world filled with distractions, temptations, and unseen battles, the Rosary acts as a shield against evil, a wall of defense that surrounds those who pray it faithfully. Exorcists and spiritual warriors have testified that demons fear the Rosary because it is directly linked to the intercession of the Blessed Virgin Mary. If you want to strengthen yourself against spiritual attacks, there is no better prayer. Padre Pio was constantly under attack by the enemy, facing physical assaults, temptations, and struggles beyond what most could endure. Yet he never feared, because he had the Rosary. He carried it with him always, saying that it was more powerful than any earthly weapon. Many saints, including Saint Louis de Montfort and Saint John Paul II, echoed this belief. They knew that when a person commits to the Rosary, they become spiritually fortified, covered by Mary's mantle, protected from forces that seek to destroy their faith. There are countless stories of people who have experienced physical and spiritual protection through the Rosary. One of the most famous is the miracle of Hiroshima. A group of Jesuit priests survived the atomic bomb while praying the Rosary daily. Soldiers in battle have testified that carrying the Rosary protected them in ways they could not explain. Even in times of crisis, natural disasters, accidents, or life-threatening situations, those who have clung to the Rosary have found miraculous protection. But this protection isn't automatic. It requires faithful, consistent prayer. The Rosary is like spiritual armor. If you only wear it sometimes, you leave yourself vulnerable. Just as a soldier would never enter battle without his shield, a Catholic should never go a day without the Rosary. Each decade, each Hail Mary strengthens your defenses, pushing back spiritual attacks and surrounding you with divine grace. If you want to experience this level of protection, pray the rosary with conviction. Don't just say the words. Believe in their power. Visualize yourself placing your life, your home, your family under Mary's protection. Consecrate your household to the Immaculate Heart of Mary and keep a blessed rosary near your bed, in your car, and on your person. These small acts of faith build an invisible shield around you, one that cannot be broken. This is not superstition. It is a spiritual reality confirmed by centuries of Catholic tradition. The devil hates the rosary because it is one of the strongest defenses against his attacks. Those who pray it faithfully experience fewer temptations, greater peace, and stronger faith. They are not free from struggles, but they are spiritually fortified to face them with courage and divine assistance. Now that we've uncovered the rosary's role as a shield of protection, let's take one final step before we conclude. The ultimate goal of the rosary is not just protection or petition, it is union with God. When prayed with true devotion, the rosary doesn't just change circumstances, it changes you. It transforms your heart, aligns your will with heaven, and draws you closer to Christ. Let's explore how the rosary can become a path to true holiness. The rosary is more than a prayer. It is a school of holiness. Every time you pray it, you are not just speaking words. You are being shaped into the image of Christ. Through the joyful, sorrowful, glorious, and luminous mysteries, the rosary teaches us how to live, how to suffer, how to love, and how to trust in God's plan. This is why so many saints have called it the greatest tool for spiritual growth. When you meditate on the mysteries, you are learning directly from Jesus and Mary. You witness Mary's humility at the Annunciation, her trust at the Nativity, her sorrow at the cross, and her victory in the resurrection. These are not just stories. They are lessons for your own life. The more you pray the rosary, the more you internalize these virtues. Over time, you will notice a deep transformation in your soul. You will react differently to suffering. You will grow in patience, and you will desire holiness more than anything else. One of the biggest signs of spiritual progress is a growing love for prayer. Many people struggle to pray because they see it as an obligation rather than a privilege. But as you continue praying the rosary daily, something amazing happens. Prayer becomes a joy, not a duty. You begin to crave that quiet time with Mary and Jesus. The more you pray, the more your soul longs for God. The final step in this journey is to fully commit. You have learned the secrets of the rosary, its power, its ability to transform lives. The question now is, what will you do with this knowledge? The saints were not different from you. They simply chose to pray without ceasing, to trust without fear, and to persevere without doubt. Will you do the same? The moment of decision has arrived. Will you make the rosary a permanent part of your life? If you are ready, then let's take this final step together. One last prayer before we conclude. One last moment of reflection before we begin a new life of prayer and devotion. The rosary is a journey that leads to profound transformation, but only for those who truly commit to it. Many begin with enthusiasm, yet falter when distractions, doubts, or routine take over. But here's the truth. The greatest spiritual breakthroughs happen when you push past the resistance. The saints who experienced the deepest graces from the rosary were not those who prayed only when they felt like it, but those who prayed despite distractions, despite dryness, despite trials. They knew that every rosary, even when prayed in difficulty, was shaping their soul, drawing them closer to God, and unlocking unseen blessings. One of the final obstacles to overcome is spiritual dryness. Every Catholic who prays the rosary long enough will experience moments when it feels distant, repetitive, or lacking in emotion. This is where many give up, assuming that their prayer is no longer working. But in reality, this is a crucial moment of spiritual purification. God sometimes allows dryness in prayer to deepen our faith, to test our perseverance, and to help us grow in love that is based not on feelings, but on commitment. Imagine a husband who only expresses love to his wife when he feels it. His love would be shallow. True love is constant, even in silence. The same applies to prayer. Padre Pio, despite his mystical experiences, suffered from spiritual dryness, yet he never abandoned the rosary. Saint Mother Teresa of Calcutta, who radiated holiness, spent years in spiritual darkness, feeling distant from God, yet she, too, never stopped praying. Why? because they knew that faith is not about feelings. It's about trust. The rosary, when prayed in times of dryness, becomes a supreme act of faith. It is saying, "Lord, even when I don't feel your presence, I still believe." And this kind of faith attracts extraordinary graces. Another major obstacle is distraction. Many people struggle to focus while praying the rosary, their minds drifting to worries, plans, or the events of the day. This is normal. The mind is restless by nature. But the key is not to give up. Even when distractions come, gently bring your focus back to the prayer. Every time you do this, you are strengthening your spiritual discipline. Think of it like training a muscle. The more you exercise control over your mind, the stronger it becomes. Even if you are distracted 100 times during a rosary, returning to prayer 100 times is already a great victory. One powerful way to overcome distraction is to pray the rosary aloud. The sound of your voice engages your mind and keeps you more focused. Another method is to use images or scripture as you meditate on each mystery. The more senses you involve in prayer, the more engaged your soul becomes. And if distractions persist, offer them to God. Many saints taught that even our distractions, when surrendered, can become part of our prayer, a humble reminder that we need God's grace in everything. The final test in this journey is perseverance. It is easy to be on fire for the rosary in the beginning, but what matters most is praying it for the rest of your life. Some of the most powerful testimonies of rosary miracles did not happen after 1 or 2 prayers, but after months, years, or even decades of perseverance. God's timing is perfect. Your prayers are never wasted. Every rosary you pray is a seed planted in eternity, and one day you will see the incredible harvest of grace it has produced. We have now arrived at the final step before the conclusion. You have discovered the hidden power of the rosary, how to pray it with true devotion, how to overcome obstacles, and how to persevere even when prayer is difficult. Now, one last question remains. What will your life look like if you fully commit to this prayer? The answer lies in one final realization. The rosary is not just a devotion, it is a calling, a way of life, a mission from heaven. Let's now prepare to step fully into that mission. The rosary is not just a series of prayers. It is a divine calling to become a warrior of prayer, a disciple of Mary, and a witness to God's power in the world. Every person who commits to the rosary is stepping into a sacred mission, a mission that has changed lives, won battles, and brought countless souls to Christ. It is no accident that you are here, that you have followed this journey until now. Mary herself has led you to this moment, calling you to embrace the rosary, not just as a daily practice, but as a way of life. Imagine for a moment how different your life will be if you truly commit to the rosary. Picture yourself praying with deeper devotion, experiencing greater peace, and walking with confidence knowing that you are protected by Mary's mantle. Imagine the spiritual breakthroughs, the answered prayers, the moments of divine clarity that will unfold. This is not just wishful thinking. It is the lived experience of countless souls who have embraced the rosary with their whole heart. And now, that same grace is being offered to you. But this mission is not just about personal transformation. The world is in desperate need of prayer warriors. Families are breaking apart. Faith is growing weak, and darkness is increasing. Mary has appeared in countless apparitions, begging for the rosary to be prayed for the conversion of sinners, the protection of the church, and the salvation of souls. Will you answer her call? Will you take up the rosary not just for yourself, but for the world? This is what makes the rosary so powerful. It is not just a prayer of devotion, it is a weapon of intercession that can change history. Look at the lives of the saints who dedicated themselves to the rosary. Saint Louis de Montfort, who spread the devotion across the world. Saint Maximilian Kolbe, who led thousands to Christ through Marian consecration. Pope Saint John Paul II, who said that the rosary was his favorite prayer and the source of his strength. Each of these great souls had one thing in common. They lived the rosary, they breathed it, and they let it shape their entire spiritual lives. Now, it is your turn. There is one last commitment that will seal this journey. Will you pray the rosary daily for the rest of your life? Not just when it is convenient, not just when you need something, but as a permanent and unshakable foundation of your faith. If you make this commitment, heaven itself will take note. Mary will walk with you. Graces will flow, and your life will never be the same again. You have reached the end of this journey, but in truth, This is only the beginning. Everything you have learned is leading to one final, life-changing moment. The moment where you say yes to the rosary, yes to Mary, yes to a new way of living in God's grace. One final prayer remains before we conclude. One last opportunity to step fully into the power, the peace, and the extraordinary promise of the rosary. Let's prepare our hearts for this final step. We have arrived at the final moment of this journey, but in truth, this is only the beginning. You now hold in your hands one of the most powerful spiritual weapons given to humanity, the Holy Rosary. You have learned how to pray it with your heart, how to meditate deeply on the mysteries, how to overcome distractions, and how to persevere even in spiritual dryness. You have discovered that the Rosary is not just a prayer. It is a calling, a path to holiness, and a mission to bring light into the world. The question now is, what will you do with this knowledge? The Blessed Mother is calling you to a deeper devotion, to a commitment that goes beyond occasional prayer. If you truly embrace the Rosary as part of your daily life, you will witness its power in ways you never imagined. Miracles, conversions, protection, inner peace. These are not distant promises. They are the reality of those who pray the Rosary with faith and perseverance. You have seen the testimonies, the history, and the lives transformed by this devotion. Now, it is time for you to take action. So here is my challenge to you. Commit to praying the Rosary every single day, no matter what. Let it be your shield in spiritual battles, your comfort in suffering, and your guide to holiness. Set aside time daily, choose an intention, and pray with love. If you accept this challenge, write in the comments, "I commit to the Rosary," and let this be your public declaration of faith. Every person who takes this step is joining a spiritual army, one that will bring grace to their lives, their families, and even the world. And if you want to stay strong in your faith and deepen your spiritual journey, subscribe to the channel and follow Jesus. By doing this, you are not just clicking a button, you are making a choice to stay connected to content that will uplift, inspire, and help you grow closer to God. Turn on notifications so you never miss a new video, because this is only the beginning. There is so much more to learn, so many more ways to strengthen your soul and walk in faith. Now, before we go, I want to take a moment to thank you for being here. My name is Oliver, and my mission is to help you grow in faith, to equip you with the spiritual tools you need, and to walk with you on this incredible journey toward God. Whether this is your first video or you've been here before, know that you are part of something greater, a community of believers, of seekers, of prayer warriors who are striving for holiness together. I don't take your time for granted, and I want you to know that you are always welcome here. If you ever feel lost, discouraged, or in need of strength, come back to this space. There will always be a message, a prayer, or a word of encouragement waiting for you. And most importantly, never forget that you are loved, you are seen, and you are never alone in this journey. Thank you for being part of this. Keep praying, keep believing. And until next time, may God bless you abundantly, and may Our Lady always keep you under her mantle. See you soon.